I genuinely believe like there's like a mass awakening happening at the moment.
Would it be safe to say that you have become aware of your self-story?
Yes, because everything is to be found in ourselves. I think our biggest demons are also inside of us. And sometimes we use the external world to maybe project our fears or project negativity towards the external world, and we put the responsibility in
Someone else's shoes.
Yes, and from the moment you have this kind of epiphany or awakening, then you kind of realize like, whoa, we are actually the creators of our own lives. How we perceive the external world is most of the time to be found in our internal world and in your inner core. Like everybody has its own journey, and maybe you have to bump into the wall. Maybe you have to feel what the victim role is, or maybe you have to meet a certain person in your life that holds a beautiful mirror in front of you, and then you realize, like, oh my God, was the whole time it was actually in my hands and I didn't see it. And then you see things emerging, and it gives me a big spark to see that.
There is one question that arises from this, which is the self-narrative versus the main narrative. So, Jeroen, welcome to the Firestarters podcast. I have a question for you, and that is, why are you here today?
I think we met a couple of times, but I believe we met at an event, and where knowledge is shared and where wisdom is shared, and we got talking to each other, and I felt like there's like a similar way of thinking, or the thinking process is kind of quite the same. How we perceive reality, how we perceive actuality, just perceiving a lot of information that comes, that's being presented at us, but also how we look at today's society, maybe. I think that kind of resonated.
It definitely did. And what can you elaborate a little bit on this perception of reality that you found similar in both of us?
Well, I think you're kind of a very curious person. You always want to, if you have information about the subject or a person, then you want to know more. And it's actually the same with me. Like while growing up, I was always a very curious kid, and I wanted to read a lot. And I visited, I think the local library on a two-weekly basis or a weekly basis, and at a certain point I came into a point that I read like the whole non-fiction department, and I was like, do you have new books? And they're like, but it's impossible that you have read all these books. And I'm like, yeah, but I got through it. And then I started reading comic books, and then all other things happened. But I always had this kind of unlimited curiosity for things. I always wanted to know more. How is what's to explore in life? What's to what can we read? What can we know? What can we perceive? What can we learn? Not only from ourselves but also from each other. I think staying curious is definitely the way to go in life.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So where do you think this came from, this curiosity?
To be honest, I don't know where it came from. I know that my parents, they had a big share in this. They raised me in a very open way, also stimulating reading, stimulating practicing arts. I was the one that always was drawing and painting. My brothers and sister, they were more like on the expressing themselves on a musical level, which I regretted back in the days, because I was also passionate by music and wanted to do a lot, like reading notes and just trying out instruments. I was always fascinated by music. And I think the curiosity about it came from the fact that music is maybe the language that everybody understands and connects us all. And back in the days when I was growing up, I also noticed that information doesn't necessarily connect us all.
Interesting. Yeah, I once read somewhere that the relationship mathematically between the planets is actually, you can transform it into kind of like a symphony. And that all the reason why we were talking about earlier, like what makes a track timeless is like what makes a set of notes um, uh, so prominent that everybody agrees that it's a good song. Like there's like almost like a general understanding of music that is almost indescribable, but then it translates into everything in the universe. All the patterns are kind of connected. Also in audio, you also have sound healing, for example, which also illustrates that.
Yeah, I think what you're describing is called harmony, because that's like the thing what I was very sensitive for. Like when I was a kid, I always went to the church on Sunday with my grandmother, and I experienced like how a choir can fill the area. Like what the churches are actually designed and cathedrals to perceive sound and to generate sound there, and like. But also when I heard the first time when I heard an orchid, do you call it like this? Orgel?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you call it like
I
this.
don't know what it's called in
Yeah,
English.
I think so. Or organ.
Organ, this one, yeah.
When you hear it in such a big building, it's like super impressive. But also when you hear like other instruments amplified in these buildings, and especially I remember during a couple of songs that were played back then, when the choir hit some sweet spots, then you felt the harmony of all those voices together with the same key of the instruments, and it was like, wow, sometimes I got goosebumps. And even like, and especially when the sun was shining through those colorful windows, and everything was kind of amplifying the whole experience. So you had sound, you had light, you had sunlight, but also those colors, and then the environment. And I remembered also perceiving goosebumps while I was growing up and listening to music. I had one nephew who was playing the guitar, giving me those tapes, old tapes, back in the 80s, like from rock bands. And the first music I heard was actually like the music that my parents listened to on vinyls, and my grandmother, she had like vinyls from Harry Belafonte and all those old artists. And then I grew up with the first, I think the first dance music ever, like New Beat was hot back in the days. And it was actually a whole revolution going on in the music landscape.
You mean turning to electronic music?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And how old were you when this shift started to happen?
I remember we were 10 years old, when everybody at school was wearing those colorful fluorescent badges with smileys on. Everybody was wearing color. We had the first big Greenpeace t-shirts with big slogans on the back, like "No time to waste," which is maybe an interesting topic to touch like later on in this podcast. But then like you saw like a whole new hype emerging in the musical landscape. So you had like back in the days it was rock. Pop was super popular. You had Michael Jackson, Madonna, all those artists that were actually conquering the world. And then you had the first electronic beats. So like Kraftwerk was gaining attention, especially in the German scene. You had like the first pioneers in techno and in house music who were stepping forward, and the first clubs programming DJs that also played this kind of music, because back in the days they played like everything. You had a lot of all-round DJs, but then you had specifically the whole new beat movement. You had techno knocking on the door. You had hardcore gabber coming emerging from the Netherlands, especially with Thunderdome and everything, which actually, and it was, to me, it was very interesting to see, and I was very curious about the communities behind those hypes and those new genres, because everybody, they dressed in a different way, they behaved in a different way, they danced in a different way, because in the music spectrum you had like all those genres, like even new beat was very slow, so people danced really slow, but like hardcore gabber is like super fast, like it was like high energy. But I will never forget the first time I visited one of those parties. Like you had unity, and music connects us all, and you had these all the heads, they were bouncing on one beat, like everybody, like all different races, man, woman, like everybody through each other, and it was beautiful to see. And it was, to me, it was also the feeling of harmony.
Yeah, it's interesting. I read up on this thing, and it's Africans in the old stammen. How do you call it?
Tribes.
The old
Yep.
tribes. They had percussion music, and they used it to go to war. And also, doom, 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 doom.
Hmm.
And they would kind of, what does the percussion do? It brings people in a sort of trance, in a sort of unity, and in that case, ready for war. Like all the heads facing
Hmm.
in the same direction. And then the way that I think about electronic music is that percussion, or the repetition of percussion, is actually the thing that really changed between the, let's say, old music model and the new
Hmm.
music model. And I think you're touching up on something really interesting here. There's also God is a DJ. There's also certain thing about unifying people in a place that is beyond the borders of the normal life, and they come together and they all face the same direction, and the energy is not just yours or theirs.
Hmm.
It's collective.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Now you're touching something almost spiritual about this experience, because um, I've always questioned myself, like, how is it possible that when you're in a club and a DJ is playing a certain track or making a transition while one frequency is blending into another, while everything is like amplifying, the whole area can transform while playing one song or one track or one part of the track that hits everybody.
Hmm.
And also like yeah, different venues, like how venues were built, like um but it's like how I perceive it always is like when you bring a lot of people together, they just want to let go. They carry so much um luggage with them on most of the time on a mental level. um but they come together to just to experience something beautiful together, like sharing music, sharing dancing together is also a ritual, actually, like because you're talking about those tribes like hitting the war drums, but like those tribes also, I think, get their strength or their authenticity or their
They all have their own
preserving
songs also.
preserving yeah, old songs. And I also learned from a couple of artists that they are now especially working with those old ancient songs, that
Hmm.
they are being reproduced in a new way with new beats and everything, to just pass through the knowledge from one generation onto another, because they are like, we have to preserve this. This is like those, sometimes you have icaros, but there's like different songs during ayahuasca ceremonies, but you have a lot of tribes who have lots of interesting songs that actually hold so much wisdom and so much love for their culture, and come from, they were being sung from ancestors to their children and to grandchildren. So they want to preserve their culture by how do you call this, Re- redesigning it, or changing the package or changing the container, but passing it through to the next generation, because they know, like, if we keep it in the old way, we might lose all the knowledge, we might lose all the original message.
I think there's also a greater societal topic here, which is one that I'm very interested in, and that is, you said you were going to church when you were younger. I also went a few times to church as grown up as a Catholic, but never really a believer, let's say. And I find that in at least a Western society, we're in a place where we're losing religion. And for me, um, these big music festivals that are now happening around the world, but mainly also, yeah, in Belgium, there's so many. And, you know, why are people so drawn? Why is there such a craze or something, or such a need for people to come together and unite, under the theme of love? Um, why is that? And I think that I went to India, for example, and I filmed a documentary there asking these questions. And when I saw these rituals that they had there, it was always linked to music. And so religion and music and then community is giving people a reason to live, or it gives meaning to people's lives. And what I find is that these music festivals, or just scattered parties in general, people come there because I feel like maybe they're missing something in their lives in the sense of meaning. And when you stand together in a room, and all heads are facing the same direction, it gives almost like renewed purpose, or fills in a gap. And I think that is something really interesting to notice about the cultural shift happening at the moment.
Yeah, well, to me, what you describe has a lot to do with, I think, the healing aspect of being together or going together to a festival or an event or a club, experiencing music, celebrating life, dancing, which is kind of, to me, like, if you see it in its purest form, it's something sacred that has to be protected, because it comes from the tribes, it comes from our ancestors. They did it all those ages ago. But to me, it's like when you see, like, today's society, everybody's getting more and more isolated. It's also because of technology invading our lives, but also we are getting more dependent on technology. And I think just by preserving this kind of dance culture or music culture, and going out with your friends or your family and experiencing a very beautiful location or a very beautiful uh, sound system, or artists that bring super powerful music towards you, and then it has this healing and transforming aspect to me, because it can literally change your life. You can go to one event and come back as a different person that you were before, because something has shifted inside of you, or something has healed. Maybe you were wearing something with you that you should have let go earlier, but because of your meeting new people, or experiencing new sounds, it gives you new insights, new information. Actually, it's actually perceiving new information, because music is actually a very powerful language, and which we kind of underestimate
I
most
think
of the
so
time.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
But I just believe in this healing and transformational power of music and events in general, and I think there's a lot to do with uh, yeah, with how people perceive it. Like, sometimes there's like a lot of negative um,
I
um,
wanted to go that direction as
things
well.
around it,
Yes.
but then it all depends like how you fill it in.
Yeah, because on
Um,
one side, for example, you have UK rave culture where they do like all these forbidden parties, and there's often a struggle between, you know, really high ticket prices to go to these events, and then when people just want to be themselves and listen to their own music in a random field, and then it's illegal, then all of a sudden it's an issue. So there is some resistance towards this. And I think another great topic is why. Like, so people are losing like, if we continue in the thought of people are losing religion, so they try to find, meaning again, and then it's being, there's a lot of resistance, and they're being guided to parties that are, following all the safety norms. That there's a lot of things a party or a festival organizer has to do in order to be accepted as a legit place, and that they're allowed to actually hold the event. So that's also another difficult one. Like if you have less money, then maybe you are not so tempted to go to these places. What do you have then?
Yeah. Well, I have to say something about it because it's also maybe the ones who were organizing the first raves, they were the pioneers in a way, and they actually paved the way for what we are seeing right now in the music industry. And I met one of those people back at ADE, like the last ADE. ADE is Amsterdam Dance Event. It's like a conference where music industry professionals, they come together and they discuss different topics, and they network and they showcase the latest artists, the latest music, the latest trends, but also people come together to co-create. And there I met Ilya. I forgot his last name now, but he was one of the founders of, or he's the founder of Multigroove, and he organized one of the first, I think, illegal raves in Amsterdam back in the days. And he was telling about how he struggled with all the permissions of the government and the safety regulations and everything. But at the same time, he was actually building a new culture, because there was no, back in the days, there was no possibility for the young kids to experience certain music, or there were no venues, or the clubs weren't big enough, or there was always something there back then. But these guys actually, like, I think literally in every country, they took the lead. They took a lot of, maybe it was irresponsible, I don't know, I don't want to put a label on it, but the thing is, what they actually created resulted in the culture that we see right now. So thanks to their stubbornness or their rebellion, fire inside, they actually opened many doors for what we are seeing in our daily lives right now.
Which makes me ask the question of, like, what has happened since then, because it was very politically motivated. I think techno, especially talking about techno in the beginning, and it comes from,
it was a revolution.
And so to go a completely different direction, like you have TikTok DJs now, who go on festivals and parties, and they have these huge social media accounts, and that's almost like their why, and the real essence of it, I feel like it's being a little bit being lost, because it's becoming more mainstream. This is for me a very sensitive subject. When music, when things become mainstream, they lose their essence.
Yes and no. I think there always should be balance, and you can't please anyone or everybody. And the thing is, like, how I perceive this is like, there's always an audience for somebody, I think, or for every hype there is an audience, because otherwise they wouldn't. How come it's like, explain me this thing, like, how come, like, everybody's now being critic about the TikTok DJs, and I understand why, but it's also that they have this possibility to become popular through this platform, and maybe also thanks to TikTok, a lot of music has been shared, which wasn't the case, like, if there wasn't TikTok before. So I think it's an opportunity for a lot of DJs that if you can make the jump through TikTok, which is fine, then you go ahead, but you will see also a different crowd for those artists and compared to other artists. And I believe, like, especially in these times, I think where we have to be careful with is that people still wanna go out. Like, what I'm seeing is like a shift in going out, especially with Generation Z. Like, our generation, I believe, was like going out from Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Until
Sunday,
Monday, yeah.
yeah, and we had like unlimited stamina on that level. And now, maybe it's also a good thing that the current generation, because I also have two daughters, that they are balancing it out and maybe are a bit more picky. Like, maybe I shouldn't go out on Thursday or on Monday or on Sunday. And let's go out on Friday because I'll still have 2 days to recover, and so on and so on. And it could be a very good thing as well, because everything is about balance. Um, and nowadays, I think there's still a lot of choice, because if you want to go see certain artists who are more situated in the underground scene, then you still have the opportunity. The only thing is, like, I see a lot of clubs suffering at the moment because there's like a lot of parameters at play. Like, there's a lot of things shifted, and that's actually, we started seeing that shift since Corona, because youngsters, they started growing up more isolated. They couldn't go out back then. They are more dependent from technology. They communicate more via technology. I heard my friends today and everything, and but do they meet up and on a physical level? That's something different. You also see the same shift with cafes, for instance, with bars. They also see a decline in people just having a drink, having a conversation, staying there the whole night. It's there's a shift going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I also noticed right before the COVID, I was still working as a videographer in a nightlife, and I was filming mainly in Antwerp with this guy called Mario, and he decided right before COVID to launch hardcore again in Antwerp. I forget which club. And he was also doing industrial techno. And so you felt that it was possible again. But why? Why is the music going harder and harder and harder? And then Corona happened. And then Corona stopped. And then everybody had knaldrang. And then that what he saw before Corona, I thought that was visionary. Like, he saw where it was going. Kudos to him. And then it really exploded. And it was so hard. And what happened afterwards was not, I wasn't interested anymore in this underground scene. It was too much. It was just like everybody just wanted, like, had so much anger and frustration, and it exploded. But and you should know better than I do. How has the music now evolved after Corona? Because I think it's a really quite a nice reflection of the mood and the times we live in.
Yeah, but it's like how I see it, or how I see it evolving, is like music is like fashion, and everything comes in ripples, like and in waves. And I remember in the 90s, everybody was wearing those buffalo shoes. Now they're back. So it's like it's the same with music. And back in the days, you already had this hardcore gabber, but you also had terror. Terror was like even more harder than gabber, and I see the same parallel happening with techno. And if you can still call it techno, I don't know what's happening. There's a lot of things happening at the moment.
Everything's techno now. Yeah.
Sometimes it's like just DJs playing noise. But at the same time, as long as there's an audience for it, let's leave it like this, and let it happen. Because I also believe that there's like there will be an audience that will restore the balance, or says like, okay, now we want to experience this, now we want to experience that. At the same time, the hard techno was exploding thanks to Corona, or maybe because of a big part of Corona. You also saw that a lot of streams were gaining a lot of streams were happening on the musicians or the producers who were playing like down tempo music. Like, a lot of artists got discovered through Corona because everybody had to stay inside. And I'm still a big fan of Sven van Hees. By the way, he's like to me, is like the chill king. Is one of the most brilliant chill producers. And I remember during those times, I even played more music from him than before. And because it also has this healing aspect and a soothing aspect. And in hard times, I believe people will search for triggers that either heal or soothe their emotions or their feelings, and also they will search for the harder sounds in order to try to make a fist or take a stand or to let them show themselves like we are here. This is our culture. We want to show ourselves and also make noise because we want to get ourselves heard.
Mhm. Yeah, interesting. I think this is a good opportunity to try to make a bridge between the the status quo in music, but also in the rest of society. And we wanted to talk about, the power of the media, and we wanted to talk about narrative, like self-narrative and the main narrative. And I want to start right away with a quote. And the quote is by Nelson Mandela. It says, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." And I have a follow-up question for it, which is, if education can change the world, why do you think our current systems feel so afraid of letting people truly think for themselves?
Well, media is always carrying a message, like it's a medium. And speaking about messages, there's like a lot of information at the I think we as a society we now perceive a tsunami of information coming to us, not only thanks to social media but also thanks to AI, thanks to all the different digital sources that are being scraped at the moment. And when we prompt a question, we get like so much information towards ourselves, which actually gives you the option, like you can start to tap in different narratives. And what I've learned is like even from a young age that that it was interesting for me because I was always like a super curious boy,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to know as much as possible, like all about reading non-fiction books, but also from the moment internet was there, I was looking up things, wanted to read whole platforms, being active on fora, gaining information from other users. What we experienced back then was like we were students, but we were writing ourselves. We were like the first bloggers or the first how do you call it? It kind of felt a little bit like being a pirate, but then in a media landscape.
Yeah.
And we were actually the naughty kids because we brought out news that nobody else knew about. But sometimes
Was it school related, like, or how am I
no,
how
it
am I
was
seeing this? Like, what, was it something? Yeah, was it on the school network, or was it just on
no,
another social media
was
that you guys were talking between each other, and then you knew stuff when you
yeah,
went to
yeah.
school between friends, and nobody else knew? Like, how did that dynamic play out?
Actually, the website got big because after every weekend, back in the days, there were like a lot of photographers and videographers, and they were making pictures about nightlife, but also about the really wasted people. And those pictures they landed every weekend after, yeah, every after all the how you would say the wild days students experienced in their bars or in the nightclubs. We posted all those pictures because we had a good laugh with it. And back in
Yeah.
the days, it wasn't such an issue yet because it was kind of innocent, but everybody had a good laugh with it. Like, oh my God, look at this guy or that girl or with lipstick all over the face and such things. So what we did was like pretty innocent, in my opinion. But what we gained was a huge reach because everybody wanted to see the pictures and everybody was like, oh my God, well, I want to have a good laugh too after this weekend. And for a lot of people, it was their moment of, how do you call it, joy after when they started work or or learning again. But what I noticed is that the reach exploded, and we had like more reach than the big mainstream platforms had.
How much are we
So
talking about? Do you
oof,
remember this,
I
or just to get an idea?
I think we had more than 200K on one day, like reach. Yeah. So it was like it's like you're literally it's like a library on steroids. Steroids. How I perceived the first days of when internet was available to the public, and then you had social media, but you also had censorship, especially in times of crisis or times of Corona times. Um, and because of those strict measures that like certain players or forces were playing out, um, I started thinking like for myself, like, is this still the narrative I feel resonating with me, or do I want to tap in something else, or do I want to discover some more media? Like what is the alternative media? What is the mainstream media? How do they compare it to each other? But also who is writing for those platforms? And then I started reading a lot of books, but also books that were like that had like when I went to the library and I wanted to ask like, do you have this book available? No, it's a forbidden book. We can't have this here. And sometimes I noticed that certain books are forbidden to be publicated or to be distributed in certain countries.
Is there like a list or like or sort of like a website where you can see these changes happening? Is somebody keeping the record of
I would love
forbidden
to know.
books?
If you find it, then please send it
Okay,
to me.
okay, yeah. I really was hoping you would tell me.
But no, I haven't found it yet. But I got aware that there are like books or that there is knowledge that is not open for the public or not in certain countries. But
Yeah.
it's also about religion, I think. Like certain ideas or thoughts shouldn't be shared in certain religious groups or like cultures. I think it could disrupt the public or disrupt the balance or the control. But I always found it very interesting to see like how these forces are at play and why. Because for a lot of people in power or the forces that play, I believe there's like this very utopic dream of having control, as much as control as possible. And when you deeply think and feel and realize, then I think control is an illusion. Because do you have any control of the way you're breathing? Do you have any control of the way you're living? And also, then even like when I was younger and I discovered the power of psychedelics, even when you were microdosing, how your mind can. I thought I had an open mind when I was young, at a younger age, but from the moment I got to learn a lot about more about psychedelics, my mind was, and I could realize that no, I'm gonna rephrase. So the moment I first discovered psychedelics, I thought I had an open mind, and then after trying out psychedelics, even if it was a microdose, then I know like, whoa, there's like a whole different world lying in front of us, and we are not even aware of it. And it's also like when you, I was always a big fan of movies, especially like Dune or Avatar.
Yeah,
And
me
when
too. Yeah.
when you have the scene of in Dune where they tell you about spice, about these herbs, and they open the mind and they alter your senses. That was also something that deeply resonated with me. Also because of the main character, he grew up with a certain narrative, and he got tested by just living his daily life. Like, oh, there's like a lot of powers at play, or sometimes there's like more that he was being told of, and he got curious as well. And I remember those scenes very well, and I think like I saw Dune and Dune 2 more than 70 times now, not only because of the beautiful musical soundtrack, but like how these kind of stories, they also there's like too much similarities in those movies with our daily lives. And yeah, compared to our reality, I believe. So that's like what keeps me going, I guess.
I'm wondering, like, when did this first start with you in your life?
What I experienced as a child was like, growing up with this in Western culture and with Christianity, and I was reading aloud from the Bible every Sunday with my grandmother there, and you kind of adapt to this pattern without questioning yourself too much, and you're thinking like this is all being built because of the love for God and with everything. But then when you're a child, you don't realize like how much power this institution has, like the church. And if you go to the Vatican City, then you notice like how much wealth they have, but also power. They still have a lot of power. And the thing was like when I was in this beautiful loving vibe also for God, until a certain day when I think I was 12 years old, and had one brother that got that passed away because of an accident. Yeah, when he was riding his bike, it was with a truck in the street we were living in. I started questioning myself, but also the church, like, is this my reward for being such a good boy and showing up every Sunday and trying to live a very good life and in all harmony and serving a bigger purpose and serving religion as well. And it kind of was a moment for me like, okay, I'm going to quit going to church on Sunday because I felt something was wrong with my belief. Like, if I'm getting punished for being such a good boy, or like, what is this? What is happening here? Like,
is there a God?
Yeah. Is there a God? And is this the way how God should treat people? Like, be offering them suffering as well and pain. And I was like, yeah, but they're always preaching about love and about the good things in life, but they are never addressing the pain. And then I realized like there's a lot of more to discover about religion itself, but also finding my own religion, because when back in the days, it was also like in the 90s, there was a lot of child abuse that got to the surface in the media as well. And then I started to think about that, yeah, but I'm still baptized, and actually I don't want any connection anymore with this institute. So I also wrote a letter.
You did?
I did, yes. Like, I want to be excluded from the church. I know I'm baptized, but I want to, like, how do you call it? Debaptized? I don't know anymore.
Just cancel.
Yeah,
cancel your subscription.
Cancel my subscription. I did. And actually, it felt like a relief. It was such a small symbolic act, but I felt like I'm free from this belief system and from this institute. And I started following my own voice, developing my instinct, listening to and reading a lot about other religions as well. Like, there are beautiful cultures out there, beautiful religions. And I kind of, I think, developed a certain inner voice that was getting very curious about spirituality, about consciousness in general, about how music can have a transcendent feeling, how everything got also with the experimenting with certain plant medicine. I got a feeling like, whoa, everything is truly interconnected, and we live in this great universe, and this everything, there has to be light and there has to be dark, because there is balance. And that's how I was changing my views from from being a child, growing up, and then being an adult. So it was like a whole journey.
Interesting. And how is this new perception or this new identity or this new belief system worked itself into your life today?
Well, in my life today, music still plays like a huge part in my life. I met so many beautiful, interesting people who use their talent for the better good, or for the bigger
common good.
Yeah, for the common good. I kind of let go of old belief systems. I am not trying to point my finger towards the dark. because I used to do a lot. Yeah, yeah. Especially during the COVID crisis, I was like, oh, those people, they are violating our human rights, and we have to do
Who is those
something. And
people?
yeah, I'm not going to call out names,
Okay,
but
okay,
but it's
fine.
like
Yeah,
it's like yeah, the forces at play,
yeah.
and I kind of learned how to focus more on myself and on my inner circle, my direct family, my daughters, and it kind of brought me more harmony in my life
Mhm.
as well. And I must say, like, I'm just in a super grateful state at the moment, just being here, having this conversation with you, but also we actually learn how to know each other. We're not perfect, but
Yeah.
but this is, I'm feeling very comfortable in not being perfect in this stage in my life, and it feels like a relief,
Hmm.
like all those past traumas, like everything that I was carrying with me and in this journey of life, it kind of feels, yeah, I feel like being in a constant holiday mode now.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah, but it's also because I met someone really special, and we're kind of filling each other in. We kind of found this balance, and uh, if you can, if you can work with passion, and if you can step every next day in your life, like you can work with music or you can create, but also co-create with people that you really love and you like to create with. It's it's a beautiful thing, and it changed my views on the world drastically. Yeah.
Would it be safe to say that you have become aware of your self story in the transition between religion and this new concept of spirituality, which is kind of the same, but then instead of looking towards an imaginary person in the sky, you look towards yourself?
Yes, because everything is to be found in ourselves. I think our biggest demons are also inside of us, and and sometimes we use the external world to maybe project our fears or project negativity towards the external world, and we put the responsibility in.
Someone else's
Yes,
shoes.
yes, and
Yeah.
from the moment you have this kind of epiphany or awakening, or then you kind of realize, like, whoa, we are actually the creators of our own lives. How we perceive the external world is most of the time to be found in our internal world and in your inner core, and that's how I learned to, yeah, to let go more, also to give attention more to positive things, or to how you can uplift certain what I always like is, like, I see person A, person B, and they're struggling,
Hmm.
or they have this idea, we want to make this or we want to create this, and then I love it to introduce them to person C, for instance, or to just be that person C, like, hey, why didn't you think of this or
Yeah.
that, and then you see things emerging, and it gives me a big spark to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. My findings is though that um, if I play that role that you're playing by being person C, like you, if people play the victim's role, it's really hard to get them out of it. So usually, if you play that role, person C, it has to be with people already kind of also more open-minded and not in the victim's role, because I will never ever listen to someone else's theories about why you're wrong or whatever, because they're not open to it. They're not open to learning. They're not open to changing. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and I think everybody is in a different stage in life. Like, everybody has its own journey, and maybe you have to bump into the wall. Maybe you have to feel what the victim role is, or maybe you have to meet a certain person in your life that holds a beautiful mirror in front of you, and then you realize, like, oh my God, it was the whole time. It was actually in my hands, and I didn't see it, and it's yeah, it's just like the beautiful miracle of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am thinking a lot about this mirror because, one thing I've learned is like surround yourself with people with high frequency or people who yeah, make you grow. And when you do that, then it kind of functions as a mirror. They will always mirror like your positive things and your negative things. They will mirror everything. And they will do it honestly and genuinely. But you can also do that from yourself. And I find that this is something kind of key in this conversation, is that if you know how to kind of be your own life coach, let's say, if you know how to do that, then you're also quite clear about who you are, and what you stand for and what your self story is. And I think that in the greater context helps you understand what the common story is, um, the story of our society. You know, the stories that we tell. Yeah, I think this is something really interesting that we can talk about.
I think so too, and maybe it shows us that we have to learn how to listen more to ourselves and to our inner voice, and sometimes it's well hidden inside of ourselves under deep layers of uh, fear, past trauma, like a lot of experiences. But then again, those experiences, they shaped us who we are today. So that's why I'm actually um, uh, because of all those flaws I had in the past, maybe, like, I am very grateful that I could experience them, because I wouldn't be the same man sitting in front of you today. So that's why I'm feeling grateful for this. And by realizing that, um, it also takes away, I think, the fear of making mistakes in the future, because it's all about, yeah. And if you know your own human design, like, um,
You use this word twice now, and
yeah,
it seems like you have more knowledge about. It seems like it's more of a concept than what is
it's
human design.
it's
Is like is that knowing who you are, or what do you mean by human
to
design?
me, it's like, I discovered this like a couple of years ago, and it's brought so much clarity about my conscious part and subconscious part. And it's kind of, you have, for the people who don't know what human design is, it's actually like a lot of algorithms and parameters and information from astrology, but also mathematics and everything combined into one a tool. I would say you can you just need a couple of parameters, like where you're born, the time of your birth, and um, your birth date, of course, and then you get to see your human design. You can calculate it for
It's
free.
only based on three
Yes,
parameters.
only three parameters, but you get like a whole Bible of information about yourself, but also about your subconscious parts, and it will explain you a lot, like who you are, but also how you react to other people, how you react on in different situations. Also, the things where you struggle with, it will be very clear if you see, like, oh my God, it's like I've been trying to overcome this pattern like for so long, but now I clearly see what causes of this pattern, or from this behavior. And to me, like, the most interesting part was when you have one human design, which is basically like the blueprint, your energetic blueprint of who you are,
Hmm.
and it's different. We are all very different. Everybody is very authentic in their own energy, but it becomes very interesting when you are going to make a comparison, or to make like I use another app for that, to see how your energy can match with another person. Like, it can be work
Yeah,
related,
yeah.
or in a relationship, or maybe with your parents, or with your brother or sister, or with friends. But it will explain a lot, and it's super interesting to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that, because like I have my scientific brain going on right now, going like, yeah, but only 3 points of information, that's not enough. Like, what if there's another person who is also born on the same date and time as I am? Like, will they have the same result? Like, can you maybe slightly dive deeper into the functionality of this idea? What are the main aspects that make it function? Or maybe I can rephrase my question in a different way, which is like, okay, you discovered human design.
Hmm.
Did you have to first enter your information and do it, and then read what you read, and then you're like, oh my God, yes, Like, how did you come to believe in the system?
Well, I had to put in the first parameters. I did, yeah, and then I read my human design, and there was like I'm a generator, and I have it says like emotional authority, and that's right because when I am in a situation, the first response is emotional. I'm like, oh my god, I have to do something, or getting mad, or getting happy about it, or excited, or super excited. I don't know. Um, but then you read like, okay, if you have this, it's better to wait a couple of days or to sleep over it if you have to make an important decision in your life. And, and back in the days, I was like making decisions like instantly, like, oh, this is happening. Oh, I have to do that. I have to do that. And in my case, that wasn't maybe the best choice to respond so fast on an emotional base. It's kind of also part of my human design to provoke. And I like to provoke on the right level, because you could have a conversation with a lot of people around you. And when you say something that is maybe unpopular, or something that pulls the attention of everybody, and you can really build the whole story with the right sources, with the right information, then you're actually um, also sharing valuable information, but you're also in an educative role for those people. And I've always felt like wanting to share information because I have like a very strong feeling of injustice or inequality. I can't deal with it that well basis. But I noticed like the more I read about my human design and about my own dominant senses, I thought it was always like my ears, like the music is the most important, but it showed me that actually smell is my most important sense. And in a way, I started to think about it like, wait a minute, this is true because I have this kind of I don't know if it's an anomaly or not, but it's like super weird when I come into a new place or a new location or traveling, and you smell something, it can teleport me to an instant moment from my childhood. Like, whoa, this smell reminds me of that situation.
I think that's everyone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's so crazy, like how it can work. And but it's especially with this app. I would love to invite you to explore it as well, or to invite a human design specialist because I'm not a specialist on that.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. I am kind of in my life divided between right brain, left brain. I'm a really creative person, but also I was growing up a logical way. And I have a lot of people who really way down on the logical and the scientific proof. And then I have a lot of people who live their lives through spirituality and through their hearts, I suppose, living from or their passion. And if you can enter 3 parameters to kind of discover deeper truths, man, sign me the fuck up. But there's then the analytical part of my brain that says like, yeah, okay, but why does it work? Or how is this reliable? Is this a reliable system?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would be really interested to hear more.
Well, I was actually in doubt as well. At first, I was very skeptical about it until I was testing out the compatibility of matching 2 people together, or like testing out like friends with existing relationships, or even family. Like if I got their parameters and they were trusting me in this process, I could give them like a code or a combination, like you have like the highest form of compatibility, which is 9 plus 0, I believe. Then you have A plus 1, 7 plus 2, and it gets lower and lower until the lowest combination says like this isn't the relationship actually. Like you're just trying to do your best for each other, but this is never going to work on an energetic level, because some people, you can also feel it when you're in a room with people. Sometimes the energy instantly connects, it matches, and you can't explain. Try to explain this to your friends on the scientific level, So there's a lot of information we don't perceive, or we can't see, or we can't read, or we can't calculate. But there is this certain spirit in us that can tell us, like, hey, I match really well with that person, or I can feel our energies collide in a certain way.
Does
And
it have to do with your level of sensitivity? We talked about it on the last podcast, and I find it interesting. Like, are you somebody who is sensitive in the sense like you, you perceive or you understand information without knowing how, but you do. And then when you talk to other people about it, not everybody is picking up on the things. Like Lawrence, who was here in the previous podcast, he told me like he's a business coach. He steps in a room and like he didn't literally say he knows what people are thinking, but like he knows like when something's up, if there's like a something is off. Maybe I don't know. Someone fell in a puddle on the way to the classroom, and he's feeling complete shit. Like he will like you won't even have to see him. Like he'll know like, oh yeah, something's happening. Do you also describe yourself as somebody who's sensitive?
yeah, for sure. But also like the way how I experience music is like music can be a huge turn off to me. Like or if I experience it like. How do you call this, like Schlagerfest, and that's
Oh, yeah.
not my favorite environment, and I think it would be my biggest nightmare to be there.
Yeah.
But it's fun how people can have fun over there.
Yeah.
But like music can enchant me sometimes. I can listen to music or receive some demos or promos, and I can be like, it can totally take me over. But then I'm also like, I want to share this with everybody that I know, because this is like transform it. And sometimes you hear people, yeah, sounds nice, but they don't perceive it the same way.
Yeah.
And it's the same with environments or with restaurants that you enter. Sometimes every environment has its own DNA or that whole atmosphere, but it can be there are some elements that can totally disturb me, or other elements that are feeling like, okay, this is so well designed, everything is connected so well, and it's like one taking a warm bath, for instance, the same experience actually. But it's the same with meeting people. It's the same actually, because I believe that like everything is frequency, and we all vibrate. I just met your cat today. We had a great connection, and it's like it's the same with animals. Sometimes it's connect. You have a connection, and sometimes the animals turn away from you, and it's like, or away from other people. Like, but I never had this kind of experience where animals were running away from me. So
that's actually how I choose my cats, because I've had few cats now, and like I go, and if they come towards me, I don't do anything. I put myself in the space, and they come towards me. I'm like, okay, he seems interested. And if you just think about it for a minute, like the one is running away from you, the one's coming to you, like don't choose the one who's running away.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Funny example.
Yeah.
Let's see. Because we just talked about the now. I don't think we covered half of the things we wanted to talk about, but the conversation is going really well. Is there something that you would like to add? Something that you want to talk about that I haven't asked about yet? Within the context, of course, of this whole conversation.
Let me think.
We touched on religion. We touched on culture. We touched on music. We touched on the evolution of maybe the last 8, 9, 10 years, with a huge cultural shift with COVID. We touched upon media. We touched upon the narrative. You have the narrative, the public narrative. You have the self-narrative. We touched on all these themes. Is there something that I'm missing that you would really love to talk about?
Maybe the rise of technology, and in a way that we are being flooded by it, and that also, like, for instance, what bothers me is like whenever I want to buy new devices for my place, that it has to be connected to the internet, and you need updates, and it's all smart. But smart is, to me, in my opinion, it's like, I see it as something that is unnecessary, that you don't need to upload so much data from yourself to some cloud like everywhere where in the globe, and they're just selling your data and get rich from it. And you just want to buy a vacuum cleaner, but it's a smart vacuum cleaner. Like I just at the moment I'm watching Stranger Things.
Okay.
I'm a very late adopter to this, but I'm loving it. But I also, by seeing this, I got like teleported in my early kids
80s.
childhood, yeah,
Yeah.
the 80s. And if you see how children are and the youth are playing with each other and exploring the world, it's without devices. Like they maybe had the first Atari or Nintendo, 8-bit or 16-bit, and that was it. Um, and I kind of miss these old days. And what I just want to address is like there, it should be healthy for us that we also opt out from this technology on certain moments. I've seen this, for instance. I was in Ibiza last summer, and there was this huge hyperclub universe opening its doors, and they have this one secret room, but you can only enter it if you give your smartphone, and then you can go in. And I love the experience there,
Yeah.
and it should be more. And I'm really happy that like even in bars or restaurants, they are now when they welcome you in, like here's like a little box, put it in, and don't use your phone. And it's
Love that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it enhances the experience. And I think if we are becoming more mindful of this behavior, that everybody's like watching the screen the whole day, like how we can balance it out and having more real conversations or more real interactions, and then it will be beneficial for society. I think also with AI now is like almost omnipresent in our lives. I think we will come to a point that we will have to think as a collective, like how further do we want to have this involved in our lives or intervene in our daily basis? Because right now there's like your future self is sitting over there, but in this angle of my eye, I see a robot sitting there, and it's like whoa, like it's becoming all the sci-fi movies that I used to watch are yeah, and it's like a little bit like predictive programming in a way, like how they were made. I don't know, but
Sometimes I think about that. Like, did these movies form what happened next?
yeah.
Like, because I can't name any specific movies, but surely enough, 10, 15 years ago, you go back, we were talking to screens, and they were talking back. That was crazy. But it's here now. And then I think, like, was there a creator who decided to make really like a fiction movie and just went all out, balls out crazy? And then some other people who were designing technology thought like, ooh, he's onto something. Let's try it. Like, I wonder if movies have an impact on technology.
Or on the collective. Yeah.
Of course it has an impact on the collective. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see what the future brings. But this is something what I notice is like that I'm very aware now about my phone usage, and I kind of decreased it in a way, especially in the weekends or in the evenings, and it's actually enhanced my life. Yeah.
I have a great question here on my phone, and it says, "Do you think the future belongs to institutions or to individuals who learn how to tell their own story?" I think that's an interesting one.
Well, let's get back to earlier in this podcast, like or in this conversation where we were speaking about projecting our inner world to the outer world. Like I think.
And also with the idea of the AI, of course, in the back of your mind.
Yeah. I think AI can be a great companion and a great co-creator, especially on a professional level. But we have to be mindful, I think, how further we are going to let it in our lives, because before we know it, it's like also part of our inner world. And where's the Where's the boundary? Where's the
Yeah, that's what
where's
I'm
the limit?
exploring with Future Sender. Where
Yeah.
is the boundary? And
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy because I am kind of at the same time looking forward and not looking forward at all to the
Mhm.
answers Future Sender will give me. Because so I was thinking about it, like, and these different AI companies are like LLMs are competing with each other. Now I am with ChatGPT, but also with Gemini. And so I ask him a bunch of questions, but now they have ways for you to organize also in different maps. So my whole business, the podcast, the Firestarters, is basically all on ChatGPT and not so much on Gemini. And I am feeding information. And right now I have to nudge it constantly by creating my own Future Sender app within the ChatGPT to guide it to act like me. But at a certain point, it's gonna be so me that it's creepy as fuck, and I won't want Future Sender anymore, or at least not that whole concept with the AI and stuff. But I think that's where we're heading to. The lines are being blurred.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I can't imagine myself being next to a future me. Like, imagine having it's like having a twin brother, like a
Yeah, but smarter and
yeah.
more experience.
Yeah.
But I think it's
do you really want that to happen?
I do, in the sense that we talked about in the previous podcast, like about embodiment. So if you can position yourself in that state of mind, you will get new insights about who you are, what you want to do. So yes, I want that. I want that because I want to continue being the best version of myself. I'm so curious and I'm creative, and I really want to, I only have 30 years left, 40 years left, I want to make the max out of it. And yes, please give me shortcuts. But it's, as you said earlier, it can be a dangerous game, this new sort of, media / inner brain or whatever. Like that's what it, and like you call it a companion. Well, ultimately, it's also like an extension of your brain.
Yeah, maybe it's a good or a safe next step to explore human design first.
Yeah, I like that.
I think it's less interference in our own lives. It's just like, that's one thing I wanted to address.
Yeah,
because you were going through all the different topics.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like Stranger Things, like particles.
Yeah. You called it.
No, something else I wanted to address is like you have everybody's talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and sometimes we tend to forget about NI, natural intelligence. Like we are part of nature, and we should be mindful of that, and we shouldn't forget about this important role we play in the natural balance. That's what I wanted to address. Like it's super to me that's still something to keep in mind. And I felt it because I was like, you were talking about being super sensitive. I'm also super sensitive, but when I enter a forest, what's happening then is like you hear all the bird sounds, all the animal, like a crack of a branch when someone's stepping on it. Like
true.
all the,
I never thought about it.
It's a full sensation, but also the chemicals you breathe in from the trees and all the plants. And that's when I realized, like, wow, we are truly so interconnected with everything. Even hugging a tree, like I challenge everybody, at least hug one tree in your life, like feel it, take a really big old tree and go just or sit with it or read a book with your back against the how do you call it, the stem,
the trunk.
The trunk, yeah. And it's like a whole sensation. And when you're open for it, you're gonna realize like there's so much more to explore.
It makes me laugh because I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, it's a bit of a crazy thing to say, to hug a tree. But then again, it's a little bit crazy to form a relationship with a computer.
Yes, there you go. And the tree is alive.
So thank you for bringing this to our attention. Yes, please go more into nature. Go walk in the forest. let's see if I can ask you a closing question, but it sounded already like a good closing. Yeah, this is a really good one. If every no, I have two questions.
Okay.
What does a healthy digital community look like in 10 years from now?
That's a hard one because everything is going so fast. But in 10 years from now, I hope that a healthy digital community is a community of human beings living in balance, not only with nature, but they are part of nature, but also with all the technology that also on an ethical level is there should be balance, because right now I have the feeling like everything gets pushed so fast and so rapidly into our lives, and there's like hardly any questions about the ethical part or the sustainable part or the legal part, like because a lot of machine learning is happening on an illegal basis, like they script a lot of music, a lot of knowledge, copyrights that are being violated, and it's like, yeah, sometimes it's you can't control how technology is being rolled out, but I think we can still control how we make the choice for ourselves to tap in these new possibilities. But also, like, I hope that we also realize what's at stake with the things rolling out as digital ID, digital currencies. Like, if all those aspects in our lives become digital, I think it's our mission to realize who we are as humans and what we are as humans, and it also claims to be no, it's also needed that we have to realize also our spiritual part to play a role in that, because if we tend to forget it, then we're going the wrong direction. I think our society is I have this image in front of me for the future, like are we going to take the balanced way, like balanced with nature and technology, or are we going full direction into the technological way and the digital way? And I see like a lot of how do you call this, like technocrats pulling the strings.
Yeah, I think I have a really nice idea to complement what you're saying, as I've been exploring lately, but I'm not very good at all technical web things. But Web3 is something that came in my field of attention, and it could be a way. It's a bit like Bitcoin. How do you call the system? Blockchain, where you kind of take control of your information, and so when you say everything is moving really fast, I think everything's moving really fast in the sense that people are stealing your data really fast. And you want to have an online presence. But what if you could give the control back to the people? So that is one thing that I think about the future of AI and identity. And then a complementary question, and the last one, is if every person had the tools to question their own narratives, how different would society look? So, for example, I talked to you about this idea I had to create an app so people can, create their own narratives and be in control of their own narratives, and then connect it to Web3 so they are also in control of their own data. Imagine a world with this app or this capacity. What do you think can happen? Do you think that is because you just drew out two paths? Either we go back to nature or we go with full technology? I think no. I think the best is somewhere in the middle, een beetje koffie met water, of water met koffie, of how you say coffee, water with the wine.
Well, I totally agree. Like it's all about balance, and I think like everybody should think about and realize like how we are living at the moment. Like this is what's the same like experience with the mirror that you can be for someone else. Like if we are more aware of ourselves and more aware of the other, like playing a part in our lives, like but it's also about using our voice or relearning how to use our voice, because from the moment we are stepping more into the digital world, we will communicate on a digital level. But sometimes I receive a voice message from people, and it's still different. Like when you have a real conversation, you're the real voice, but you also, I can experience your energy field.
Yeah.
And from the moment you communicate with someone, if it's an email or a WhatsApp or a voice memo, or you're there and you can feel each other's field, then I think the way of communicating is like on a holistic level, and you will have a better understanding with each other, because you could say A, but your body says B. Like
Sure, yeah.
there's like so much nuance that
gets
plays.
lost.
Yeah.
I think maybe this podcast is the perfect example of how I see the future. It's like we sat here for a couple hours, actually longer, because we first started the podcast and I kind of made a mistake. So we started over again, and then we talked about it, and then we came back, and there was a really human connection here. And we're, like you said, in the same energy field. We've been here for 2 or 3 hours. We really got to know each other and had a really great opportunity uninterruptedly to have a great conversation. But this is all being recorded and it's all going online. And then what people actually see on the other end is a digital product, but based on human connection. And I think that's the statement I want to make in this world.
Yeah. And something else, if you wouldn't record it, would it be the same conversation?
I don't think so. I think the conversation would be even more genuine. And I mean, sometimes I get choked up and I don't know what to say. And I usually don't have this when the cameras aren't pointed on me, because there's this extra sort of pressure. It's how does that story go? Like, if there is a tree in a forest that falls over, but nobody is there to hear it, did it make a sound? And it's about the actual observation of something happen. When something is observed, then it reacts in a certain way, and something is not observed, it reacts in a different way. Nobody can tell you if the tree made a noise when it fell in the forest, because you weren't there to experience it.
Okay, let's get back in the forest. Yeah.
Jeroen, thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.